Long ago, a goat took the blame. Hands pressed, sins confessed. They sent it away out the city gates, burdened by what wasn't its own. But what happens when that goat got rhythm and the world calls its song crying? Yeah. This one's for the scapegoats.
Let's go.
They laid hands on us, made us carry their wrongs, wrote their laws in blood. We wrote freedom in songs, scapegoat, Leviticus, yet a ritual repeats. From temple to courthouse, same deceit in the streets. We the mirror they break when truth gets too loud. Built the nation backbone, they erase us from the crowd. They brought the mob in crates, crime hid in the suits, but blame the block for the fruits of their own rules. They profit off sin and wash hands clean, while we get the cuffs and the guillotine dream. Yeah, we still sing mercy, still move the line, even when the cross and the bars intertwine. We own the freedom, let the light redeem. They can lay it all on me, I still believe.
Come on. Y'all come in here, get them lights up. We about to get this thing going. Part 2. In here, get them lights up. We about to get this thing going. Part 2.
Now we lead the scene. We own that freedom, baby. Freedom, baby. We own that freedom, baby.
They televised the guilt, edited the pain, made our struggle look like the face of the stain. While the mafia dying, Wall Street stole. We got the bars, they got control. Prohibition made gangsters rich overnight, but somehow we the villains in the white man.
Somehow we the villains.
Blame repeats. A scapegoat symphony, the media sweet. The truth don't die, it just changes name. From Negro
don't die, just change its name. Come on.
Voices thunder, they tremble and sound. You can exile a goat, but the soul come round.
The scapegoat walked through the desert, and out of the dust came rhythm. A million sons, a million daughters, each one humming, we still here. They sent us away to die, but we came back singing freedom. But we came back singing freedom. They can lay it all on me, I still believe.
They can lay it on me, and I still believe. Come on.
They can't be made of a dream, 'cause the soul still gleams. We the scapegoats, turn saints. Now we flame, let it shine. Oh, we own that freedom ring.
Don't let freedom ring, y'all. Come on. About to get to it.
The rhythm don't fade, every chain they built, we turn to parade. Neo soul of a nation, gospel in the grime. We sanctify struggle, make the pain divine.
They wrote us off, now we the chorus they quote. We the prophets with bars, every line I know. We breaking the curse, pretending they're still in the face of polluted air. We the sermon in the cipher, the light in the drum. Freedom ain't coming, it already come. This same rage is revelation in rhyme. The scapegoat lives eternal this time.
Scapegoat live eternal this time. Let's go. Come on.
You can't exile the lie. You can't bury the truth.
Can't bury the truth. Come on.
Every scapegoat you sent away.
Every scapegoat you sent away.
Yeah, came back singing freedom.
Freedom. Came back singing freedom. What's good, family? About to get to it, man. We about to do part 2. I know I didn't finish up yesterday, but I'm gonna finish it up today. This is part of the series right here. American by boat, or excuse me, I said that wrong. American by blood, not by boat. The story that must be told. What's good, family? This is your boy Too Much, and we about to get right back into it. Part 2 of the 5 points and the false blame of episode 2. We're gonna do a 2-part series for episode 2 because of the 5 points and the false blame of episode 2. We're gonna do a 2-part series for episode 2 because it's just so much I gotta get to. Just so much. But shout out to everybody in the room. Though I appreciate you coming in. I could be doing anything else right now. I mean, there's so many TikToks going on right now, so I appreciate the people that come into my room because I'm gonna give you some scholarship. I'm gonna give you some game. Before we get started, though, please like the live, share the live. You know, let's try to get to the trying to build this platform back up. For some reason, it shrunk down, but it's cool. It's cool. We're gonna build it back up, family. Like the live, share the live. What's good, family? What's good with you, brother? Share the live. Let's try to get the likes up to 10K to start with, and let's try to get the live on the For You page. You know, let's try to bust out. I mean, a lot of people need to know it. Man, even the tethers need to know about what I'm saying because we going through. Listen, they made us the scapegoat, y'all. We should have never been the face of crime. We didn't invent this thing. We didn't start this thing. Crime, gangs. We should never be the face of gang. Gangs was here while we were still enslaved, family. While we were still under tyranny and being terrorized, there was already organized crime here. And who brought the organized crime, family? I'm just going to say it how it is. Immigration brought organized crime to America. Immigration brought syndicates. The Tammany Halls, the political corruption, that all started not with Black Americans, but with immigration. And we about to prove it. We about to go to it. We about to get to it. But family, I got an NFT. It's specifically for this channel. If you're interested, it's only costs $1, and it'll give you access to all my viral videos that go viral on YouTube. Anything that gets over 500 views and or 25 likes will be minted into a special NFT just for the family. So you buy one NFT and you get a host of NFTs of all my viral shows. And right now, it's only $1. So if you're interested, just send me a message and you got a wallet, I'll go ahead and send you the contract. You go ahead and get the contract. $1 get you the Too Much Moxie NFT. And we'll go from there. But let's get to it, family. I told y'all, man, that I was going to be back today. And that we're going to do part 2. So this is the Immigration and Crime podcast series that I'm doing for TikTok and YouTube. Yeah, and YouTube. But we're gonna get right to it, family. Just gotta remember where I left off at. I don't want to backtrack or go over anything that I already went through. So give me 1 second here. Let me go back in my notes here, and we're gonna get right to it. We are gonna get right to it. But how's everybody's night? Man, we had an amazing get right to it. But how's everybody's night? Man, we had an amazing day. I thought it was real good. Let me get to it. Hold on. Where is this thing at? Where did I leave off at? Okay, yeah, we was on 1 second here. Okay, yeah, we might be getting into the media machine here, huh? Okay, no. Here's where we at. Are we gonna go up a little bit more? No. Oh yeah, there's a lot, family. I got a lot to go over, family. Hold on. Ooh, yeah, a lot. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, so let's just do a quick recap real quick, family. So what we talked about, they were native, they were probably just, first, second generation Americans. And we talked about the Tammany Hall and how a lot of the Irish gangs became the police. Can you believe that? Y'all homework. Did y'all do y'all homework assignment? Y'all homework assignment was to go back and watch Gangs of New York. That was y'all homework assignment. Y'all homework assignment was to go back and watch Gangs of New York. Okay, that was y'all homework assignment. Who did their homework assignment? Who watched that movie Gangs of New York and can come back and say something about it, what they saw? And interesting how you had the native. In the Gangs of New York, they called themselves the natives. I remember I told y'all that the so-called Native Americans who have a Siberian lineage, right, Siberian background, a lot of them have a lot of Hispanic background and YT background because they're $5 Indians. Most of them, I'll say that if they're not black, they're probably the $5 kind, just to keep it a buck. But most of these reservations, think about it. How come if you live on a reservation and you come off your reservation, how come America can deport you? I just want to ask that question. How come America can deport you if you're a Native American? They can deport you because guess what, family? You're not native to the United States. Let's keep it a buck. If you got Hispanic ancestry, if you got Central American ancestry, right, and you are could be considered Latino, you're probably not native. That's why they're shipping you back to El Salvador and Venezuela, wherever your people come from, they shipping you back because you're not really native. Okay, native was first used by YT people, and they just kind of gave y'all the name and then co-opted it back by becoming the very people that they tried to make y'all believe y'all was. So let's just keep it a buck. So let's get to it, family. Let's get to it. I'm trying to remember where I left off at here because there's a lot of information that I didn't go over, and I just don't want to skip anything. I don't want to skip nothing. I really don't want to skip anything. I just want to get right to it. Yeah, let me roll on. We're gonna if I backtrack, then so be it. We're gonna get to it though. So check this out, family. Check this out. So yeah, we were gonna talk about Tammany Hall. I remember I left off with Tammany Hall. See, family, Tammany Hall is when gangs became government. This is when all of your Teamsters and all that family. This started back in the early 1800s, 1830s, 1850s, 1870s, after 1890s. This all started back then, family. Now that immigrant gangs had streets, the next step was power, not just muscle, but political control. And when the gangs found their true headquarters, Tammany Hall became that headquarter, family. New York's political machine that turned gang loyalty into votes, crime into careers, and violence into political leverage. This wasn't just crime. This was crime becoming policy. What was Tammany Hall, you might ask? What was Tammany Hall? Tammany Hall, dare I say it? Family, do y'all want to know what Tammany Hall was a Democratic political organization that controlled New York City politics for almost a century. Did I say Democrat? Tammany Hall was a Democratic political organization that controlled New York City. These Democrats, brother. Ooh, when I tell you they is They've been around for a long, long time doing dirt. Doing dirt. Tammany Hall was a Democratic thug gang organization. Bet y'all never knew that, right? Bet y'all didn't connect that dot. Well, today you just got it. Tammany Hall was a Democratic political organization that controlled New York City. See, 5 Points wasn't just a slum. It was a voting block. And poor immigrants didn't trust police or elites, but they did trust the gang leaders who protected them. You know that old, you know how you come through and say, hey, you own a small business in the neighborhood, and that person that comes by and says, hey, listen, are you tired of getting your place robbed by all these thugs? I can get them off of you. But you got to pay me a fee. Those same thugs that were, bullying these local shops, they started getting smarter, family. They started getting more ambitious. And they started setting their eyes towards politics. Politics was the name of the game. Tammany understood this, family. They told the gangs, we'll get you out of jail. We'll give you jobs. We'll make sure police look the other way. In return, all you got to do is secure us votes. By persuasion if possible, by fist if necessary. They were the ones lining people up, getting them out of the bathhouses, getting them out of the bars, getting them off the streets, family. Literally getting these people off the street and say, line up and vote. Line up and vote who? Vote Democrat, of course. Think about this, family. I don't even want to make the correlation to present time, but I just want you to use your brain right there. These Democrats have been at it for a long, long time. And they started their thuggery in the 5 Points of New York. This turned street gangs into political enforcers. Gang politics equals institutional power. Institutional power. Dead rabbits delivered working class Irish votes. What was their reward? Legal immunity. Bowery boys enforced polling station control. What were their reward? Their jobs were in fire and police departments. Plug uglies beat opposition voters. What were their rewards? There were payoffs, whiskey, and employment. Tammany ward healers, mixed gang political agents, they got political access. They became your representatives. They became your Congress. They became your local mayors. Listen to this, family. Mayors were gang leaders at that time, family. Just dressed in a suit. Mayors were gang leaders at that time, family. Just dressed up in a suit and tie. And all I got to say is, where was the black folks? Where were foundational black Americans during this time? We were still enslaved or under tyranny in the North. We were not involved in organized crime or political thuggery. But yet, when it comes to all the bad names in the book, all the stereotypes, the ones they tell you to stay away from when you get here, immigrants, when you get here, all you tethers, when y'all get here, they tell y'all stay away from black folks. But they're the ones that committing all the crime. They're the one that started this stuff. They're the freaking plug everywhere you go. So who policed whom? Tammany made sure many early police officers were immigrants, loyalists. Why were they immigrant loyalists? Because they were immigrants. Kind of like what's going on in Minnesota, huh? They got immigrant police officers walking around in Minneapolis right now. Matter of fact, they got immigrant police officers all over the nation, family. All over the nation. It's funny though, family, how you would think that the police department was conservative and Republican voting when they're the exact opposite. Those police vote Democrat because Democrat institutions keep them in power. But they would make you believe that these police departments are Republicans and far right and super duper conservative. No. These police officers today, they don't want to get rid of crime. They don't want to solve the crime because it's good business. Crime keeps them in business. Solving crime doesn't. And who are they run by? Who were they ran by back in the day? By the Democratic Party. Who are they run by still today? The Democratic Party. Are you catching what I'm throwing down, family? Are you catching what I'm throwing down? This was not the experience of Black America's family. FBA couldn't join the police forces. FBA couldn't rely on political machines. FBA couldn't bribe officers for safety. FBA weren't seen as constituents. We were seen as a threat. We were seen as a threat. Even while they were perpetuating all the crime, even though they were doing all the terrorizing, somehow, even in those newspapers that they were reporting on the thuggery going on in the 5 Points, they still had time to stomp down on some FBAs and stereotype us and make us the evil people of that time. Why this matters today, family? America saw white ethnic groups as rough patriots, flawed but redeemable. They were allowed to grow into whiteness and be forgiven. They were allowed to grow into, they had to come, what basically, family, what they had to do was they had to put in the work to become YT. The Irish had to play their part to become YT. The Germans had to play their part to become YT, family. And eventually, we're going to get into it, but eventually the Italians got on board, the small hats got on board, everybody got with the program because America was up for the taking. America was a new country at the time, after 1776, and it was literally the wild, wild west. And they knew the only way to tame the wild west was with thuggery. And they came with a lot of thuggery, family. Black Americans, by contrast, were not given this path, family. We weren't given this path to be redeemed. Early missteps became geneticized. Our pain became policy against us. Their crime became a phase in American growth. Our survival, our struggle became evidence of moral failing. See, they demonized us just for struggling and surviving. But they glorified the Irish, glorified the German, gave them positions in government, gave them positions like fireman, fire chief, sheriff, police chief, mayor, while they left us with nothing. They stepped over us. They stepped on us. See, we are the true victims, family. We have always been the true victims in America. Always. 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 If you let them tell the story, this is the part they leave out. This is the part they leave out. Shout out to Crypto Marcus. Thank you, Crypto. Appreciate you, brother. Sending the goats. But this is the part they left out, family. This is the part they left out. They'll tell you about our struggle. They'll tell you about our pain. They'll go through, oh, we were slaves, we were this, we were that. Oh, but they forget to tell you that they didn't leave us nothing. Literally nothing. And everything that we ever got, we had to get it from the mud for real. They allowed Irish to be thugs, criminals. Gave them slaps on the wrist. Matter of fact, shoot, they rewarded them. They rewarded their thuggery and their crime with political jobs, employment. Family, I want you to understand that we're not who America makes us out to be. We're not who Charlie Kirk said we were. If you like Charlie Kirk or you think like him, Charlie Kirk was paid. Let's just keep it a buck. He was paid and controlled, and then when they couldn't control him no more, they got him up out the paint. Or he said horrific things about the black community. And YT society just drunk it because they've always been drunk off the propaganda and witchcraft. They've always been drunk off of Black American sorrow. They've always they love drama corn when it comes through black, under the guise of black. They'll watch black on black all the time. Black on black fights. Black on black just violence. They love that. They love to pick those videos from YouTube and the Shade Room and World Star Hip Hop. They love to showcase black people downtrodden, but they'll never show you 5 points. They'll never say, hey man, we come from nothing. We come from potatoes and lice. They'll never say that. They'll never tell the truth. They'll never tell the truth. Say we come from potatoes and lice. We come from our neighborhoods were even worse than black neighborhoods. They'll never tell you that, family. Listen, you ain't seen poor till you seen poor white. You ain't never, let me say that again, family. You ain't never seen poor until you seen poor YT. Now that looks awful. There's poor black, but then there's poor YT looks worse, family. And this is where they come from. Okay? There was early media manipulation. While Tammany used Irish groups or Irish gangs as foot soldiers, newspapers slowly started reframing urban danger as a creeping Negro menace. Even though black people were not driving the bloodshed in the 5 points, family, we weren't driving it. They would seep in. There's a Negro menace on the loose. There's a super predator on the loose. That's how propaganda works, family. Someone commits the violence, someone else gets blamed for it. And the lie spreads faster than correction. Instead of correcting the lie just takes off. Because the lie is often more juicier than the truth. This wasn't accidental, family. This is what we call social engineering. Welcome to America, where you will get propagandized and you will be socially engineered. That's why when you hear people say America's one big experiment, it's true. It's true. America is one big experiment. And guess what? It's almost over. It's almost over, family. The experiment's almost over. But they're going to get a rude awakening if they think they're going to put black Americans back into a dark age. We're not going back to 400 years of what we came out of. I don't care what experiment y'all thought y'all was running. You you're going to find out that we going forward, not backward. We're going into the future sovereign. And they can't do nothing. They can't stop it. They can't stop it. So meanwhile, the black experience in this era, foundational black Americans in this time were still enslaved in much of the country until 1865. Escaping slavery via northern routes, free but jobless in northern states, lacking voting rights even when technically free, banned from political machines and trade unions, targeted during riots, blamed for moral decay around them. So we again are the victim. During this time period that they were starting their organized crime empires, we were still enslaved, family. Still enslaved. But yet they want to blame the downfall of America on foundational black America. That's just wrong. That's why this is the story that must be told. Because they'll never tell you this story. We weren't building political muscle backed by gangs, family. We were dodging slave catchers, vagrancy laws, and lynch mobs. We didn't have protection. We weren't plugged into anything that was power. We were simply surviving. Surviving. And yet we became the danger. How did we let that happen, family? Do you know that's why civil rights was so important? Do you know why Martin Luther King's nonviolent protest was so important? It wasn't the first time we did nonviolent protests. We did a nonviolent protest back in the 1900s, early 1900s. It was called, matter of fact, it was called the Silent Protest. Go check out the video. I did a video on it. It's on my YouTube. Go check it out. Too Much Moxie podcast. Go check it out. But the reason why civil rights was so important and the nonviolent movement was so important, it was important for America to see well-dressed Negroes wearing their Sunday's best, protesting against the racial injustice in America. It was important for that to be televised. The hosing down of women and children with the water hose. The dogs being sicked on, not just men, but women and children. It was important for America to look in the mirror and see what they are doing. See themselves in the mirror, how they are responding, how they are acting to black Americans in this country. It was important for them to see that. Family, we were just surviving, barely coming out of slavery. And they already had organized crimes, racketeering, you name it, prostitution. This was already around before we became. So they want to call us the pimps. They want to make blaxploitation movies about us pimping and hoeing. They did it to their own people first, family. What are you talking about? The Irish brothels, the German brothels. Come on, family. The Asian brothels, when they came, immigration, yes, some people came over and they were working hard. But with immigration, they brought a lot of their trash with them. A lot of their trash and a lot of their crime came with them. That didn't start with black Americans. Our only crime during that time was we was trying to get free. We were trying to survive. We was trying to feed our kids. We were trying to feed our family. We were trying to make it in a world that didn't want us around. That's our crime. Our crime is being great. Despite all the odds against us, our only crime was we were great. And greater then. But yet, we became the scapegoats. So eventually, the immigrants raised family, originally directed at elites, found a new target: black bodies. So the immigrants, think about this. They're at a time where it's just the zone was flooded with immigrants, and there was really no jobs for all these people. They said, America said, come on over, but America forgot to tell you they didn't have all the jobs like these immigrants thought. So they resorted to a life of crime. The frustration built up in the 5 points, and it was about to boil over. It was about to boil over. And what did the elites do at that time? Because they didn't want their neighborhoods being destroyed. They didn't want the mob coming in their house, right? They hustled up a story, hurriedly put the story, and put the blame on the reason why these Irish couldn't get a job because of black Americans. The reason why Germans couldn't get a job because of black Americans. The reason why Irish and the Germans lived in slums was because of black Americans. They blamed it all on the black Americans. All of it. Black folks were in the middle of chaos. Think about that. We ain't even talked about what was going on down south after 1865, fam. 1865, we had like a small window where black Americans were doing amazing things and were getting involved in government and were making change and doing things. But there was a whole nother animal going on in the North during that time. 1865, they had military down there protecting, National Guard down there protecting black citizens in the South. But up north, in them 5 points, it was chaos. In the South, but up north, in them 5 points, it was chaos. Chaos was brewing. And the elites, the wealthy at that time, they needed a scapegoat. While Irish and German gangs were fighting, family, for territory in the 5 points, while Tammany Hall was turning immigrant street warfare into political capital, where were black people? We were either still enslaved in the South or barely surviving in northern cities under economic exclusion, social isolation, and racial terror. I don't ever want you to forget that. I don't want you ever to forget that, family. We did not run the 5 points. We did not control precincts. We were not getting jobs handed for beating people for voting booths. They weren't telling us go round up some voters. We didn't get that job. We were not becoming police officers through gang loyalty programs. They didn't give us that job. Instead, we were the living targets on our backs in a system that saw us as a threat, whether we had power or not. The black reality in the North was free black communities existed in the northern cities. New York, Philadelphia, Boston. But free didn't mean safe. It meant constant threat of kidnapping and fugitive slave laws, subject to black codes, curfews, vagrancy arrests, barred from most labor unions, and dominated by Irish workers. Black people were in direct competition with Irish. I like that saying that Foundational says all the time: social unity and economic warfare. It was economic warfare and there was no social unity, family. We were forced into the lowest paying jobs, most exploitive jobs. We were barred from all political access and seen as competition or a threat for struggling immigrants. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar? We were seen as competition and a threat by immigrants. Doesn't that sound like 2025? So while Irish and German immigrants were organizing gangs for protection and political influence, Black Americans were still trying to survive. Not to be sold, not to be jailed, and not to be lynched. See, they want to say, they give you all these conditions, like they say the conditions of poverty is why violence and gang activity happens, right? But the Black response was, we were poor and we wasn't in no gang. We were trying to avoid police and lynching threats. Yeah, they say oppression, right? We were just trying to avoid being criminalized by default. Unjust courts. We are trying to not get convicted and beat the conviction if we were convicted, because we knew the courts was against us. Listen, if a Black person went to jail in that time, who was going to bail them out? If a Black person went to jail at that time, what connections did he have in politics to get him out? What lawyer was going to help him lower his bail, help him get back out on the street? We didn't have organized gangs back then, family, in the Black community. The Black community, if something happened to him, that was it. They just had to go for the ride. Family, we were all we had, and we had to work with each other for our survival. We had to have codes. We had to know when to go, where to go, how to move. Our very survival depended on it because everybody was against us. Everybody was against us. We didn't have tammany halls in Black neighborhoods. We didn't have a pathway from crime to the political arena, or a pathway from crime to policing and fire and the fire department. We didn't have a pathway from crime to becoming a Teamster or part of or somebody big in the labor union. We didn't have that. We were denied from all that. Immigrant gangs formed a violent path to upward mobility. We didn't have that. Black people were not given that path. Even if we had tried, society made it clear we were not allowed to build through violence, economics, or politics. We weren't allowed to build through violence, through economics, or politics. We were shut out. Down south, they had some things going on after slavery, but that got shut down real quick once the National Guard left. And once the National Guard left, guess what? The same things they were doing in the 5 Points, they were doing worse in the South. They were stomping on Black people. They made sure that Black people did not get a leg up because they saw within just 5 to 10 years what we could do coming out of slavery. Think about that, man. We came out of slavery with 50,000 patents and inventions, man, that still are used today that change the very world we live in. The first biochemist, George Washington Carver. Think about the family. They saw what we can do in just 10 years of coming out of slavery. They said, oh man, if we don't stop these black folks, they're going to take over the country. We are going to be the ones enslaved. That's what they thought. If we don't stop these black folks, they're going to enslave us. They're going to do what we did to them to us. Look how phenomenal they are. Family, understand they made us the candidate for corruption. We were their fuel for incarceration, family. They had to school the pipeline even back then, family. They was like, we got to put them. Their way to putting us back into slavery was through the prison system. That's just what it was, family. The propaganda was on heavy, and they used the media to do it. As immigrant gangs created chaos, newspapers like The Sun and the New York Herald. The Sun and the New York Herald often ran sensational headlines like Savage Negro Attack Rumored, Colored Danger in the Districts, Threat of Negro Disorder Rising. Even when the gang wars described they were between the Irish factors, black menace was repeatedly mentioned as possible threat all the time. Suspect might be a black male. Suspect is suspected to be a black male. Suspect is a Negro. Suspect is a colored. And all the while, we weren't in the 5 points. But somehow, every black person fit the description. That's how propaganda works. It introduces fear before facts. Think about that. When you got all the newspapers saying Negro, Negro, colored, black, Negro, threat, uprising, rumors, Negro. Think about that. That's all you read in the papers is about Negroes attacking this, Negroes doing that. And Negroes ain't the one doing none of that. It's all the Irish and the German gangs at that time. Even though we weren't the participation, our presence was treated as suspicious. Every time they saw black people, they started grabbing their purse like we were the ones gonna rob them. But all the while, they were getting robbed in politics. The politician was robbing them blind because the newspapers had them focused on us, and they allowed the crime syndicates to run amok. Irish and German were known to be violent, family. Ask yourself if the Irish or Germans were known to be violent. If their conflict led to riots, public destructions, and unalivings. If white immigrants controlled both gangs and the political networks protecting them, then how did black people become the natural criminals in Americans' eyes? How did we allow that to happen? How did we let that happen? How did that happen? Because blame is a political tool. It was strategic. When politicians want to push for stronger policing, they use black bodies as justification. Kind of always works that way, right? When they want to get rid of guns, right? They use us. When they want to enforce the Second Amendment and the use of pew-pews, I'm not supposed to say gun, but pew-pews, right? They use us. Isn't that kind of strange, family? When newspapers wanted to sell fear, who did they use? They portrayed Negro chaos, even when immigrant gangs were the ones brawling. When elites needed to justify keeping black people out of unions, trades, and neighborhoods, they painted us as unsafe, even as poor whites and immigrant mobs were active and a violent force. Think about that. When they wanted to keep the they didn't want the property value to go down, family, by black people moving in the neighborhood. So they made up propaganda to keep us out. They didn't want black people moving into the neighborhood and possibly lowering the property value. So they made up propaganda to keep black people out of the neighborhoods. They made black people the face of crime. So whenever you saw a black person, what did people think? Crime. Whenever you saw a black person, what did people think? Degenerate. All the while they're the degenerates, but the propaganda and witchcraft was in effect, and the media machine was pointed at black Americans. Why? Because black Americans put money in the politicians and the elites' pockets. The fear of black Americans was making someone rich. We weren't the cause of the 5 points. We were the collateral narrative. And this set the stage for something even more violent. When the frustrations of immigrant gangs turned outward and black Americans became the direct target, this was the moment that immigrant rage met anti-black hatred. We entered the draft riots of 1863. We're going to talk about the 5-point mobs stopped fighting each other and turned to lynching black Americans in the street. This is what we're going to talk about next, family. So hold your seats. This is where it starts to get interesting. I'm giving you the storyline. I'm keep inserting that we weren't the one doing any of the stuff that they were doing, family. We were innocent in every single way. The media and the propaganda machine was pointed at us because the fear of black Americans, the fear of FBA was making someone rich, was making someone powerful, was getting the heat off of one group and putting all the interest and focus on the group that's not doing anything. The victim. The victim. The New York City draft riots when immigrants' rage targeted black lives. Think about this. We're innocent. We're not doing anything. 1863, family. When did slavery end, family? What made them start lynching and unaliving black people in the streets in the 1863 draft riots? Let's talk about it. By the early 1860s, America was deep in civil war. The North needed more soldiers in 1863. Congress passed the Enrollment Act, a military draft law. But if you had $300, you could pay for a substitute and avoid being drafted. This was when you had white people fleeing to Canada who didn't have the $300. They didn't want to go to war. If you were rich, you just paid the $300 and you didn't have to fight in the Civil War. But somehow, black people just trying to be free, black people just trying to survive, somehow, some way, they found a way to blame it all on us. Most wealthy white men paid their way out. Poor white immigrants, though, especially Irishmen who had just escaped poverty in Ireland, couldn't. They were told, you must go to war. You must possibly be unalive for this country. While rich men may stay home, and rumors started and spread that after the war, black men newly freed would take the jobs of the poor whiteys who needed to survive. This is the propaganda, family. This is the propaganda machine at work. Oh, you're going to go fight in this war. You may possibly die, be unalived. And the people that we're fighting to free, that we're going to free them because we getting our butt. I mean, let's just keep it real, family. The North was getting their butt. They was getting, the South was whooping their ass. Let's just keep it a buck. The South was winning every battle, every territory, and they couldn't have that. So as they were sending these immigrants to fight, they was like, "Hey man, the people that you fighting for, guess what? Guess what? They got skills. These are skilled laborers." Hold on, family. I gotta get this charger up. They are skilled laborers, and they coming to take your job. But you know, your life ain't worth nothing, and you got to go fight, and you possibly gonna be unalived. And then when we win, these slaves, these black folk is gonna take your job. What's up, cousin? These black folks gonna take your job. That was the perfect storm of class anger, racial fear, and political manipulation. Remember, I told you when you come to the United States is all about social engineering. They've been socially engineering for hundreds of years, family. You don't think they got it down packed already? Their political manipulation, you don't think they got that down packed already? America loves to create the problem, and then they give you a hero to solve the problem. They create the problem and then solve the problem. They create the problem, then they point to a great white hype to solve the problem. And someone had to pay for it all. All of this propaganda, all of this witchcraft, all of this rumors and speculation, somebody had to pay for it, and the government wasn't going to pick up the tab. The wealthy wasn't going to pick up the tab. And it wasn't going to be the politicians who passed the law. Not even the elites who sponsored the war from a safe distance, because they made money off the war, family. They were playing both sides. They were making money off the South. They were making money off the North. And they were loving it. But they needed a scapegoat. Because they knew this war couldn't go on forever or too much longer. Because then our enemies would come in and there would be no more America. So they said, man, this is what we're going to do. We're going to free the slaves. Make them fight for their freedom. And then we're going to flip it. We're going to flip it on them. And we're going to make them the permanent underclass and underbelly in this society. Don't. I'm gonna bring. I might bring people up. So just hang tight. I might bring people. I'm just trying to. I got to get through all this information first before I bring people up. So just hang tight. If you want to come up, I might bring people up this episode. I might not. Just depends. So instead of the rage turned toward black Americans, the same people who did not write the law, who did not enforce the draft, who had the least to do with the war's inequities, black folks was put on the chopping block. July 13th through 16th in 1863, the draft riots began. What started as protests became one of the most brutal attacks on black Americans in Northern history. Go look it up. The draft riots of 1863. YT mobs, many of them Irish laborers, gang members from the 5 Points, rioted in the streets. But instead of storming the government buildings responsible for the draft, they lynched black civilians, family. Black men were hunted, beaten, and unalived. Black women were assaulted. Black homes were set ablaze. The Colored Orphan Asylum family, a home of over 200 black children, was burned to the ground. The children barely escaped, family. Think about this. They traumatized children. Some victims were hanging from a lamppost or dragged through the streets by mobs who saw them as symbols of their frustration, even though those frustrations were caused by the U.S. government and not by black survivors of slavery, family. Where were the police? What do you think the police was doing all this? Remember, I just told you the police and the gang were one. Think about this, family. Black people told y'all that they were race soldiers. We call these police race soldiers. Did y'all not know that the police and the gangs were one? We here in Southern California, we hear the police say all the time, we're the only gang in LA. We hear them say that, and that's true. They're the most well-funded gang. The most well-funded gang in America is the police. And don't get it mistaken. They are a gang, family. The police are a gang. And where did these police come from? They came from gangs. 5 Points, New York. They were the Irish mob turned into police officers and firemen. So Germans too. Family. The police is a gang, and they've always been. They come from gangs. The very word police used to be slave catcher. Oh my God. Many officers, family, stood by, and a lot of them participated in the lynchings and the hanging of the trees, in the tyranny of black children and women. Tammany Hall politicians were largely silent. They needed immigrant votes more than black safety. Black people who were not draft eligible were punished for a law they weren't even part of. We did not fight back with organized squads, family. We didn't have armed protection networks or political backups. Many black families fled the city or hid. They had to get about. They couldn't protect themselves. Now, you know, we had some riders that fought back a little bit, but for the most part, you know, We had to back up. It was dangerous. Think about this, family. We are, and still are, in many cases, victims. We may not walk around like it, we may not act like it, family, but the only one that can really say victim in America is Black Americans. We've been terrorized for over 400 years. We've been terrorized for over, since the 1500s. Almost 500 years of terror, family, on this soil. Remember, we didn't start the gangs. We didn't start the syndicates. We didn't start the racketeering. We weren't allowed to be a part of the police force or the fire department. We wasn't allowed to police ourselves. By the time the riots ended, hundreds of Black people were unalived and displaced. Why does this matter, family? In this immigrant versus immigrant and crime series that I'm doing, I want you to remember something. I don't want you to ever forget this. When poor white immigrant gangs needed someone to blame, they didn't attack the system. They attacked us, Black Americans. When violence was committed by immigrant mobs, the narrative still evolved into Black criminality must be watched. The massacre didn't make Irish gangs seen as dangerous for generations to come, but every mention of urban unrest would later point to us. Their crime is not even talked about today. They keep saying black on black crime or black crime, like crime is synonymous with black. Family, they invented it. They invented it. We just got blamed for it. We just got blamed for it. Black people were the victims in the draft riots. So here's the question I posed to the chat. If we were the victims of the draft riots, and we were, if we were hunted in the streets, and we were, if we were burned out of our homes and we didn't start the fires, which we were, how then did we become the face of American gang violence centuries later? Let that sink in. If we weren't the ones committing the violent acts and the violent deeds, how did they make us the face of violence? I don't see them talking about Irish crime. I don't see them talking about German crime. I don't see them talking about, and we have, and listen, family, we're just touching the iceberg. Man, this is why this is a docu series. This is why this is a series, and this is a must be told. This must be told. I hope I'm doing a good job, and I hope I'm giving it justice, but this must be told, family. This is insane. How come all the Irish and the Germans are not blamed, are not the face of violence today? We haven't even touched the small hat mafia and syndicates that they had. We haven't even touched the Italian mafia, and everybody knows about the Italian mafia. But yet, when today, 2025, we are now the face. We have been the face of crime in this country since the 1800s. Something to think about. But the answer always lies in who had the power to rewrite history and who didn't. Who had the power to rewrite history and who didn't? That's just the simplest answer right there, family. We didn't have the power to rewrite history. So that's why we're the face of everything bad in this country. Because they can rewrite their wrongs, and they can even attach some of their wrongs onto us. That right there is why we're trying to dismantle this system of oppression. That right there is the reason why we want out. We don't want to be in this system anymore. I don't want nothing to do with this corrupt regime. I don't want nothing to do with this corrupt regime. I don't want nothing to do with this system anymore. I'd rather build my own system. I'd rather create my own ecosystem than deal in this corruption that I'm in right now. So from headlines to handcuffs, how blackness became America's crime and brand. Now, here's where the real manipulation begins, family. After the draft riots, after the 5-point gang wars, after immigrant crews had written their names in blood on city pavements, you think America would permanently associate gang violence with Irish crews, with German mobs, and with immigrant militias. Listen, remember, I keep driving this fact home, family. Immigration brings crime. With the influx of immigration, it brings in more crime into America. You think they would permanently associate gang violence? You think it'd be credited to the Irish and the German mobs? You think it'd be credited to all the Italians and the small hat syndicates that they had? No, that didn't happen. Why? Because Irish immigrants would eventually become absorbed into whiteness. Germans too. That's why. You know why? Because regardless of what you may think, YT people never had the numbers. They never had the numbers. They never had the numbers. We've always been the majority on this land ethnically. So if we're about 45, 50 million today, and we were the majority back then, and we're the majority now ethnically, that should let you know something. The only way they could subdue black people in America is they had to create a social construct called white and black. And the Irish and the German were allowed into whiteness. They were allowed into white. Later, the Italians, who they called guineas, they were allowed to be white. Middle Easterns, they were allowed to be white. Hispanics, they were allowed to be white. We are the only ones that did not get absorbed into whiteness because we couldn't. I mean, look at my, you can't call me white. That one drop rule changed everything. Family. This was why. This was why we became the criminals and they were made into be heroes. Soon, Italians and small hat immigrants would follow after some time, after struggle, after assimilation and political alignment. They too would be absorbed into whiteness. In other words, their criminal pasts were rewritten as growing pains of the melting pot. White ethnic criminality became a forgiveness phase. Black existence became a permanent threat. And we're still a permanent threat, family. We don't have to do anything to be a threat in America. We just have to be black. We just have to be black, family. That's all we got to be is black. Drink some of this tea. So now we're getting into, now I want to get y'all time. Now we're getting into the late 1800s and early 1900s, family. This is where the narrative begins to shift. And this is where the media becomes so important. Reporters began shaping public perception, not always with outright lies, but with focus framing and fear. When white immigrant gangs fought each other, it was rowdy youth. This is where the word game began. This is where the word salad and the word game started coming in, family. Rowdy youth, political disturbances, or ethnic unrest. That's what happens when you got a think tank, family. Their think tank went to work and say, how do we firing on white people? When white immigrant gangs fought each other, it was rowdy youth, political disturbances, or ethnic unrest. When black people are involved in altercations, whether survival-based or self-defense, headlines scream, Negro savagery. Dangerous Negro uprising, colored menaces rising. Colored menace rises. See the difference? Rowdy youth, political disturbances, ethnic unrest. I mean, hell, Negro savagery. I mean, what would we have said if we had a think tank and we saw black people defending themselves? What would we have called it? Pity pat? I don't know. But they had a propaganda machine. They had a think tank, and their think tank went to work in media propaganda. Even in majority white crime districts, newspapers warned that black migration into cities could bring lawlessness, even though we had not been the primary instigators of any violence. Let me tell you, even today, black people are not the primary instigators of any violence. And so it was true back then, and so it is still true today. We're not the instigators of that. Oh, family, you need to stay tuned and watch this whole docu-series, because wait till I get to present day. Wait till I start talking about the immigrants today, family. I'm just in the past. I'm in the early. I haven't even hit the 1900s yet. I'm in the late 1800s still, family. But what's coming? When I'm telling you, with immigration comes crime. I want you to understand I mean that. And don't take my word for it. Don't think I'm just trying to, blame everything on immigrants. I want you to go do the homework and do the scholarship. And you'll see where I'm coming from. Immigrant gang violence, economic struggle led them astray. Political corruption tied to gangs, a necessary evil for city growth. Black victims of riots or displacement, potential criminal disruptors. Black men seeking jobs or defending themselves, natural threat to order. Think about that, family. They use words to destroy our community. They use the power of mainstream media to create misinformation and mistrust in our community. We have been socially engineered, family, and I hope you guys wake up and realize that. We have been socially engineered, family. They have been running this game, this propaganda on us since day one. Family, we're not to blame for any of this. Family, I might have to do part 3. I'm gonna be honest with you. I got so much more to talk about. So much more to talk about, family. I might have to do a part 3. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna have to do a part 3. Because there's so much more information that I gotta give you. And this is only episode 2, family. Episode 2 is gonna be 3 parts. It's so long, but it's so necessary, family. It's so long and it's so necessary, family, that I can't just sit here and give it to you. Shout out to you, Sage. I can't just sit here and just try to rush through this for y'all, man. I gotta cook it for a little bit. I got to. I thought I was going to be able to get it done in part 1 and a part 2, but there's going to be a part 3 to episode 2. And this is a long series, family. I might have to come back to it and talk about something else and then come back. But this series, it must be told. It has to be told. It has to be told. It just has to be. I can't skip it. I got about, has to be told. It just has to be. I can't skip it. I got about 3 more parts I want to get into, but I need to sit down to get into these parts. I don't want to move too fast. I want to finish up where I'm at right now. I want to finish it up. If people want to come up, I want to bring some people up. And if y'all want to chop it up, I appreciate those that came out. Y'all could have been anywhere. Y'all could have been watching anything. But y'all soaking up this game that I'm giving y'all on the 5 points. And the false blame. Family, I want you to understand that our survival was criminalized. Their criminality was historicized. As newspapers shifted the blame, the justice system followed. Court sentencings reflected social narratives. Irish and German gangs were often given shorter sentences, community connections, or chances at redemption. Black defendants frequently received harsher sentences, even when involved in lesser offense or none at all. Family, back in that day, you can just go to jail just for being black. But yet, we're the face of crime. Negro uprising. Shout out to 𝗤𝗲𝗄𝗵𝘁𝘀𝗀𝗶cie. We're the face of criminality, family. But there was a time in history where you can just go to jail just because you were black, and you could do nothing about it. We went from being the scapegoat in media to being targeted in policy, to being locked into a system of surveillance and incarceration. This wasn't random. Keeping FBA permanently at the bottom became their mission. Justifying exclusion from unions, housing, and political representation, positioning emerging white ethnic groups as reformed, rising, and righteous so long as they accepted anti-black sentiments. It became American to use the N-word against a black American. It became American to practice anti-black hate. Matter of fact, in order to become accepted into YT society, you had to practice a form of anti-black hate. Let that sink in, family. Why do you think so many Hispanics, Native Americans, Asians, Africans, Caribbeans practice anti-black hate? Because that's your acceptance into YT society. If you don't practice anti-black hatred, you can't be accepted. If you're black and you don't hate where you come from, you can't be accepted. Think about that, family. It is American. It is now considered American to practice anti-black hatred. Black criminality was observed. It wasn't observed, family. Black criminality was constructed. We were never doing the crime. It was constructed, family. That word black crime, that word black jobs, all those things that they try to put our name on it, it was constructed, family. There's no such thing as black crime. There's no such thing as a black job. There's only crime and there's only jobs. If you're a human being and you're qualified, you can do any job. There's no such thing as job for whites, job for Asians, jobs for Mexicans. There's no such thing as black jobs, just like there's no such thing as black crime. It was constructed, family. It was constructed. And family, we're going to stop right there. We're going to stop right there. We're going to take some time to reflect. How the myth became law. And how the law became policing. And how policing became generational trauma to Black Americans. I want you to let that sink in. I want you to understand what is happening to our community. I want you to understand that We're going to go deeper down this. Like I said, I haven't even got to the 1900s yet, family. I'm still in the 18 freaking hundreds. And this should anger some of you. This should make you be like, damn. They really played us. Some of you should be angry enough to be like, you know what, man, I'm done with this. And I want you to know, if you're done with this corrupt system, this corrupt game they're playing, I want you to be mad, but I don't want you to get violent. I want you to withhold your violence, withhold that that fire inside of you that wants you to go out and just. I want you to bottle up, though. I want you to bottle up that passion, bottle up that frustration, right? And I want you to begin to start working with your community, working with your brothers and sisters, waking them up to the truth, freeing them of their trauma. See, because part of their trauma, right, is they want you to believe that you're crazy and they're sane. They want you to deny what you see and believe what you hear. And believe what you hear. Think about that, family. They want you to deny what you see and believe what you hear. When George Floyd was being unalived, they want to come up with some lie with the autopsy and say he was having a fentanyl. He was on fentanyl and he was about to be unalived anyway because of fentanyl. They don't want you to believe that the police unalived him by putting a knee on his neck. They don't want you to believe that. They don't want you to believe your eyes. They want you to believe what you hear. They want you to believe propaganda. They want you to believe the witchcraft. But I want you to understand that black crime was constructed. I want you to understand that we should have never been the face of violence. No, in no way, shape. There's nobody more violent than YT, family. There's nobody more violent than them. There's nobody more violent than them, family. Nobody. We are not the face of crime, and we are not the face of poverty. We are the face of greatness. We built a country from scratch that they could never build on their own, but we built it. We are the faces of the many inventions coming out of slavery that people still use today. We are the face of victory, not defeat, because we never gave up. You have to give up in order, and the only way you lose, family, is if you give up. I don't care how many times you fail, as long as you get up, you never really failed. We are them. We are, when you see the word resilience in the dictionary, there should be a foundational Black American face right next to that word. We are the very epitome of resilience. They can't beat us. They can only hope to contain us. We never lost, family. We never lost the war. We may have lost battles, but we never lost the war. Why? Because we're still freaking here. We never gave up. We're still standing on business. Lineage business. We're standing. We didn't flee our country to go find a better place. We stayed. So we never lost. We're still in the hunt. We're still in the battle. And if you're as tired as I am of this wicked and corrupt system, I want you to bottle up that energy that you have, and I want you to turn it into something positive, and I want you to start fixing your community. I want you to start building again. The time to talk is over. The time to build is now. Family, go to fbacoin.org, be a part of the first foundational Black American cryptocurrency. Get all your information, do your due diligence. Join us in the Telegram. Ask us any question you want. We're there to answer your questions. We're there to help our people get to the next level. We're here for, we're doing something phenomenal for our people. We're building an FBA ecosystem. Join us there. With that being said, family, I'm going to bid everybody a good night. I thank you all for coming out, watching this episode today. We're going to do part 3 tomorrow. So much information. I'm still in the 1800s. I'm trying to get to the 1900s. It's going to get juicy when we get to the 1900s, family. But I got to finish this episode right. I don't want to just rush through it because there's so much things I got to talk about. With that being said, family, I'm going to bid everybody a good night. Peace, love, reparations, and the blockchain. Stay tuned for part 3. Take care.